Hello, my name is Ambria, and today we are going to be discussing fire safety. And so I've got three goals for y'all for this lesson. And the first one is going to be that you will increase your knowledge on how to put out kitchen fires. The second one is that you will increase your self-confidence in your ability to put out a kitchen fire. And the third one is that you'll increase your knowledge on how to prevent kitchen fires from occurring. So just a little bit of background, there's about 8,240 fires in restaurants per year, and about 40% of those start in the restaurant kitchen. Now, I know that's not a hospital like what y'all are in, but I couldn't really find one on hospitals, and I'm just assuming that this could be kind of relative to a hospital kitchen because they are both commercial kitchens. So 40% of 8,240 fires is 3,296 kitchen restaurant fires per year, according to the National Fire Protection Association. So if you have thought in the past there's not going to be a fire here, I don't need to know how to put out a fire, I'm not going to let a fire happen, it can happen and it does happen. So first we're going to talk about the main causes of restaurant kitchen fires and commercial kitchen fires in general. So the first one is exhaust systems and ductwork malfunctions, and so that has to do with when vents and fans behind cooking equipment and even like oven hoods get clogged up with just residue from food, and obviously it's close to a heat source, so that could easily catch on fire. The second main cause of commercial kitchen fires is the type of oil you use. So certain oils smoke at a much lower temperature and a lot faster than regular cooking oil. So those you're going to have to watch more closely because they can obviously get hot really, really quickly. The third one is grease traps. So that's when fat and oil buildup occurs in sewers and drains, and fat and oil is very flammable. So just try not to put fat and oil down drains. Try to put them in a bucket or something like that. The next one is electrical issues. That could be just from unsafe or bad wiring by an electrician. It could be because the building's old, or it could be from short circuiting, which is when you plug in too many large pieces of equipment into one outlet. And the last one is gas leaks, which we all know what a gas leak is, but I wanted to say that this one mainly occurs when there's too much gas coming into one piece of equipment, like if the equipment's too small or too old for the amount of gas that's still trying to push through it, so sometimes it just leaks into the air. So now we're going to go through some tips for decreasing the risk of fire. So like we mentioned earlier, the vents, fans, and hoods, you want to keep those cleaned and maintained. You want to watch your animal fat very closely and other types of fat that have very low smoke temperatures. You want to clean drains and sewers regularly, and like I said, don't pour grease down the drains so that they can't clog up. You do not want to plug in too much equipment in one outlet or in a small space. If you smell something that could be a gas leak, you want to say something immediately. Turn off all forms of heat like stovetops, ovens, anything that could produce heat and that could make the gas blow up or start a fire. And just tell somebody and get out of there, basically. Next, you want to rid food of excess water before you fry them in oil, because oil sometimes likes to kind of spark everywhere and hit you and hit other things, and it could hit fire and start a larger fire. So when you go to put vegetables or something like a frozen chicken or something like that in a pan and go to fry it anywhere where there's oil, just pat it down first, get all the excess water off before you start to heat it. Don't wear loose clothing. You don't want your clothes to get into a hot pan, get grease on them. You don't want to get it over a flame, anything like that. When you go to deep fry something, only fill up your pot about 1/3 of the way up, and this will prevent the oil from going over the pan, over the pot, hopefully, and it'll also leave plenty of room in there for the actual food. If a toaster or microwave starts sparking, you want to unplug it and turn it off to prevent it from making larger sparks and starting a fire. And lastly, you want to never leave hot equipment unattended, and that's for obvious reasons. Either get somebody else to watch your food that's cooking for you, or just wait for you to do what you need to do before you start cooking something. And another tip is to always have a fire extinguisher nearby. That won't necessarily prevent fires, but it will keep you more prepared for if a fire does occur. You obviously want to know where to use it, or where it is, and how to use it. So what to do when there is a fire, you want to use a proper fire extinguisher. We just talked about fire extinguishers. There are different types, and there's different types of fires, and they kind of match up. Some fire extinguishers are only for certain types of fires. Some are just best for some types, so you want to know what type you have and what it's good for. If there's a fire in the oven, you want to just close the door, keep it contained, and it'll go out on its own because there's no airflow to it. Call the fire department if it's something that can't be easily managed by you and your team members. And you want to keep their phone number by all the phones in the restaurant, or not the restaurant, in the kitchen, so that all of y'all have easy access to it, so you don't have to take time out of your day when there's a fire emergency and be looking it up on your phone. So it'll be easily accessible to y'all. And specifically for grease fires, there's a whole different set of rules. So for grease fires, you want to cover the flame with a metal lid or pan, and this is assuming just a small grease fire, like on a stove top or something, just a small one. You cover it with metal, turn off the heat source, so turn off the stove top. Pour baking soda or salt on it. Don't pour water on it. Don't pour baking powder on it, and don't pour flour on it. I know a lot of us have been taught before, pour flour on it, not water, but they're saying now that the chemicals in flour could counteract with the chemicals in whatever you're cooking, and it could make it worse. So play it safe with baking soda or salt. As a last resort, you can spray it with the correct type of fire extinguisher, but that should be a last resort. Obviously, first put the metal on it and turn the stove off, or the baking soda or salt and turn the stove off. And you do not want to move the pan, so don't try to pick it up. It's going to be hot. The flame could get on you. It could get on other stuff and just start spreading, so just leave it where it's at and do those things. If the fire is too big, this goes for grease fires or any type of fires, you want to get out, get to a safe place, call the fire department after you leave. So what to do after a fire? First of all, fires kind of get chemicals everywhere. Whatever was on fire is just going up and getting on everything. So what you want to do is you want to throw out any food that's affected by the fire, and this could even include cans, because cans can even get hot, and that can mess with the chemical balance inside, make it prone to bacteria. It could bust open, it could crack where you don't see it. Just throw out all the food affected by the fire. Throw out anything that cannot be cleaned and sanitized, and then clean and sanitize the whole operation, what's left. You also want to check water lines to make sure that they have enough pressure in them, because if fire hoses were used by the firefighters, the fire department, it could lower the water pressure, and that could make it easy for sewage and things like that to come up because the pressure is not holding it down enough, and that could obviously cause sanitary issues. So now I'm going to screen share something that shows the types of fire extinguishers along with the types of fires. Okay, hopefully y'all can see that. So you can see at the top that most of the fire extinguishers look basically the same. That one, the carbon dioxide one, looks a little different with the handle, but overall they're very similar. The main difference is that you can see there's a colorful square on each one, and that's going to show you what each one is good for, what it's made out of, and what it's good for. So this is a pretty universal thing. Pretty much everyone is going to have one of these colors on it. And then you can see on the left side, the A, B, C, the little lightning bolt, and the F. So that's what they are used for. So the A, class A, is going to be wood, paper, and textiles. Class B is going to be flammable liquids. Class C, flammable gases. Then we've got electrical contact. And then we've got class F, which is cooking oils and fats. And these do have some different names depending on where you look. I know the ServSafe book calls class F class K. So there's a slight difference. And then I believe electrical contact is actually class A, B, or C. So they're a little mixed up. And there is a class D too in the ServSafe book. So it just depends. But what you want to do is just look on your fire extinguisher and see which one it's good for. It should say on there. And if not, just research it a little bit. But this is kind of the overall graph of what it's good for. So the water one, the red one, is going to be good for wood, paper, and textiles. The foam spray is going to be good for the same thing and also flammable liquids. The ABC powder is good for class A, class B, class C, and also electrical contact. The carbon dioxide is good for flammable liquids and electrical contact. And the wet chemical, the yellow, is good for wood, paper, and textiles and for cooking oils and fats. So of these, the wet chemical is pretty much the only one that's okay or that's good to work on cooking oils and fats. So that's kind of important to know in a food service operation. And that is all that I have for y'all. So just to summarize, we talked about the main causes of kitchen fires. Let me stop the screen share. Yeah, so we talked about the main causes of kitchen fires. We talked about how to decrease the risk of fires, what to do when there is a fire, what to do after a fire, types of fires, and the types of fire extinguishers. So now I'm going to just show y'all this assessment that I have, and I want you to just look over it and we'll talk about it together. Let me screen share that. Okay. Okay, right here. So number 1 says, in the event of a grease fire, which of the following should you not do to put it out? So just take a second, think about that. And hopefully you would choose the last option, which is both A and B. So you do not want to put flour and you do not want to put water on a specific grease fire. Now I want you to think about 3 things that you can do to help prevent a kitchen fire. Let's think for a second. So 1 is going to be to clean out drains, don't pour oil down them. Another one is going to be to regularly clean vents that's around hot equipment. And let's pull up the whole list of all of them. Okay, yeah, here it is. So another one could be to not plug in too much stuff in one outlet. Another one could be to tell somebody if you smell a gas leak. Watch your animal fats and other specific type of fats very closely. Don't wear loose clothing. There's a ton that you could have picked from for that one. And the last question says, please rate your self-confidence in putting out a kitchen fire. So hopefully it has improved from what it was beforehand. So just think about what number you would pick. Hopefully you choose 5. You may be like at a 3 or 4, that's fine too. But if you were at a 1 or 2, that's still improvement, so that's fine. So let me get out of this. And last thing we are going to do is look at this handout I made. All right, hopefully y'all can see that too. So it's just what to do when there's a grease fire, and this is good to print out and have around the hospital food service kitchen you work in, and just kind of so you don't have to freak out when you see one. Maybe you know what to do, but maybe you just get kind of in a state of shock and just don't remember. So this is good to have posted around so that you can easily look at that and remember what to do and stay calm during the situation. And that's all I have for y'all. Thank you so much for listening.